Good afternoon, Hastings, and welcome everyone to our Kidrobot Money Workshop. Today we've got Scott Tolleson here with us. Scott flew all the way from LA to be here with us today. So Scott, thank you and welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So to get started, I want to make sure everybody has their 4-inch money. So if you don't already have that, make sure you find an associate. Get your 4-inch money like Scott has here. Make sure you have your Crayola washable markers as well, so you can follow along or make your own design on your money. We'll get started now. Scott's going to, in a little bit, show us some of the monies that he created and then recreate one on the 4-inch money for us. So first we'll kind of start out. Scott, tell us a little bit about yourself, kind of what you do, and then we'll talk about your money experience.
So obviously I'm an artist. As far as the designer toys, Kidrobot type toy stuff, I've been at that since maybe 2005, 2006, where I created my first designer toy, self-produced toy called Tricycle Terror, which was a resin piece. And then ever since then, I've created toys, either self-production, at different levels as well, worked with various companies on creating toys with them, collaborations, that type of thing. So yeah, I mean, outside of this, I work for Disney. I work for Creative Entertainment, where I work on shows and parades and theme parks, Disney theme parks around the world.
That's very cool. Not a bad way to spend your days, I would imagine. So
yeah, it's a lot of art.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's cool. So very good. So again, everyone, make sure you have that. And again, as we go through today, make sure if you have questions for Scott, you tweet those to us at #MoneyLiveQA. We'll check those out a little bit later on in the broadcast. And if you have any questions for Scott, we'll certainly answer those. Anything about his design or questions about your own design, he can certainly answer those then too. Again, big shout out and thank you to Kidrobot and to Crayola, both for their support today. So we want to thank them. We'll get started. The one thing to check out too is www.gohastings.com. Make my money. Again, there's a contest for the best money at the end of the workshop. Contest deadline is 12/31, so you've got a few weeks to create your money and get it in there. But you can check out the website for all the rules and official details. The prize pack is actually as you can see behind me, the Mega Money, as well as a $500 Hastings gift card, and then a myriad of other prizes and fun stuff that you can see behind us from Kidrobot. So check all that out on gohastings.com, and again, live tweet us your questions at #MoneyLiveQA. So first and foremost, Scott, we're going to start with, you've got a couple 7-inch monies here to show us what you created.
Yeah, so before I showed up, Kidrobot provided me with a couple of these 7-inch monies. So, at home, just preparing for this, I broke out some markers and just kind of went at it. So this is like if you want to, that's a little blob monster that I created. This is all just black marker, Sharpie. And this is usually at conventions or whatnot, when people come up, a lot of times they'll bring up a DIY money or a dunny, or another one of the Money World figures, and they'll want to doodle on it. Mm-hmm. So this is like an example of something that I might do for them if they come up. Also, they'll email me occasionally as well, and ask for a doodle. So there's that guy, and then this. Then I did this one as well, and this is this design is actually based off of a dunny that I that released this year with Kidrobot, called the Imperial Lotus Dragon. Which the design is very similar. This is a design I've just it's kind of my go-to design. Mm-hmm. So people come up, and if I really don't have a lot of time, or if there's a line of people, I'll just kind of throw this design out there. And I think this might be the one that maybe we'll do today on the 4-inch.
Okay, very good. So how long does something like one of these take you? You said time crunch. How long does that normally take?
Honestly, between 5 and 10 minutes maybe. Usually when they bring the larger ones like this, I feel like it's a bigger canvas, so I feel like I need to spend a little more time on it, because if you do something really quick on these guys, they don't tend to turn out as well. But when you have the little micros or the little 4-inch, you can kind of sketch them out really quick, and they still look good, but they're smaller, so you don't see all the inconsistencies and stuff like that.
Right. So just kind of a history as an artist. When did you kind of start to kind of follow your artistic instincts? As a kid, were you artistic and went from there? And
Yeah, so I've been an artist since as long as I can remember. I've also been a collector, and I've also loved toys for as long as I can remember. And I never really grew out of that, as I got older, like some people do. So that's kind of why, in 2005, I decided, I want to combine these two. Like, I've got a lot of these artists that I know now, a lot of these Kidrobot artists and other independent artists, I was fans of theirs, and I was like, well, I want to get into this as well. I want to create toys. So after the first one I did, something sparked in me, and I'm like, I'm going to do this for a long time. Like, I really love this, and I'm really passionate about it. So so ever since then, it's just a snowball effect. Like, I want to just keep creating and making designer toys. It's just super fun for me.
That's cool. And like I said, you worked with Disney, you said earlier, since 1998, and then so about when did you start with Kidrobot? How did that kind of inception start as far as your artistic career?
Yeah, so what happened was I've been with Disney since '98. I really love what I do there. The difference between, say, working at Disney versus doing designer toys or working with smaller companies in collaboration is that when you're with Disney, it's a very large company. Many things that you work on don't come to fruition for whatever reason. I think years of that, working on things and putting a lot of time and energy and effort into them, and sometimes not seeing that happen, I think that also kind of pushed me into doing more self-production, more designer toy stuff, because I think it just got to the point where it was like, well, I want to be in control of more creative decisions, things that I know are going to happen, that I want to just be there from beginning to end to see the final result, and just be a production manager on the entire thing. So that's kind of what pushed me into it. Not to say I don't love Disney. It's more of I would say Disney is more of a group effort.
Sure.
Whereas it does require more than just me to create the toys that I do, but it's me pulling the strings. Your
designs and absolutely, your creativity. So okay, very good. Very good. Well, like I said, Scott's going to walk us through his design here and on the 4-inch MUNNY. So if you got that, we can kind of start down that, kind of show everybody how you got started on that piece. Again, if you're working on a MUNNY, you have one from last week when we had Scribe here, you can certainly tweet us in a photo of your MUNNY. Again, #MUNNYLiveQA. If you have questions for Scott as we go, make sure you get those in as well, and we'll answer those as we get into the broadcast a little bit more. Scott's going to show us, one thing that that Kidrobot commissioned a couple years ago was a dunny that he had done, so he's going to show that to us.
Yeah, this little guy came out, and this was actually the first toy that I did with Kidrobot. In 2013, part of a blind box series, and actually Scribe was a part of this series as well.
Very cool.
But this is a little dunny guy. Call him the Argyle Warrior. For some reason, like, the Argyle mark has kind of become my signature. So like usually when I do a lot of times when I do either a custom or a production piece, like, I slap some Argyle on there as like a little. Since I have like different design, I don't really have like a go-to design. Like, I kind of go in and out of different phases, I guess, in my art. So I figure that if I put the Argyle mark on there, it's always something that
kind of your signature.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't know if everybody can see that too, right here on the back of his ear, the Argyle that Scott's talking about. So very cool. So
yeah, and this guy, he kind of has the little Argyle mark on his forehead as well, and the production piece has that on it too. So yeah, probably we'll just. I think I'm just gonna go after this guy, like a similar design to him on the 4-inch.
So this is very cool. If you want to follow along, you want to get some ideas, obviously for your own MUNNY. That's one of them. Scott's got this other one here. We'll show this too. He's not gonna recreate this one today, but another good example of what he can do. Now, we talked earlier. You said you've got. 2 girls. Do you make them toys? Do they ask you for specific requests of designs or items?
So yeah, I have a 3 and a 6-year-old, and the funny thing about them is any toys that are in my studio or things that I own that are there, they think I made that. You know, because I make toys.
Sure.
So they automatically think, oh, well, he
Everything's
made,
dad's.
yeah, you made that, you made that. But yeah, they're, you know, obviously they're into toys as well because they're kids. So I do have some what I consider collectibles that they've been around, like toys that I've had for a very long time, and you know, of course, they want to play with those and not what they have. So sometimes it's a little tough, and I'm kind of like, yeah, you can play with it, but be careful, you know.
That's cool. Well, this is certainly a great format for kids too. I know actually we had some people tweet in some pictures from us last week of their kiddos who had done that, and some kids were asking questions. So a fun format. Again, you know, the monies are vinyl, so you can, if you use the Crayola washable markers, you can wash those off. You can do many designs, start over, kind of recreate everything you every time. So
yeah, Kidrobot sent me some extra of the 7-inch, and my girls are loving it. My 6-year-old spent like, it must have been 30 to 40 minutes on hers.
That's awesome.
And I don't think she realized that they were washable. So like when it was smudging and she had it all over her fingers, she was getting
She's like, wait a minute, yeah.
disappointed. But then, you know, you wipe it clean and you're like, well, do another design. Yeah,
just keep
just
the
like an
creativity.
Etch-a-Sketch.
Absolutely.
So.
Keep the creativity going. Very cool. So awesome. So as far as other formats, not only, you know, 3D and vinyl, are there other formats in which you create your artwork? Is it anything else that you like to do?
So I kind of bounce around. I don't really have a go-to or something that I consider. I guess like a jack of all trades. Like I love sculpting. It's something I wish I could do all the time. For some reason, sculpting for me is very like therapeutic. I feel relaxed when I do it, and I don't really know why. Because if I paint, when I'm painting traditionally, or even drawing, like I tense up and I'm real like focused, and but yeah, I do that. I use cell vinyl when I do custom figures. Like if I do a custom MUNNY, I'll use cell vinyl, and cell vinyl is a type of acrylic that I think only one company makes it anymore. But it's an acrylic that was used for actual animation cells, traditional animation cells. And you know, since traditional animation isn't really around anymore, there's only, I think, this one company, Cartoon Color, that actually makes it. And I think they kind of make it on demand. So like you place an order and they send it. But I mean, you can use, it's a really thick acrylic, and the great thing about it is it's kind of multi-purpose. So like if you just straight from the bottle, if you paint from it, you can get really good textures and like thick brush strokes, or you can water it down, and something that I don't know if it's like the plasticine material in it, but you can get really flat where you can almost not see any brush strokes. It looks really flat. So that's why I like doing it, because with my custom work I tend to be like really tight with it. So and then also a lot of times I'll sculpt on the custom pieces as well, and so yeah, I've done many customs through the years.
Okay. Do you have a favorite? Is it out there on your website? I know you've got a website. If you want to tell everybody what your website is, they can check out. I was checking out the other day some of your pieces that are on there. There's sold out.
Definitely stuff on there. It hasn't been updated in a while.
Okay.
And when I say a while, I mean like maybe a couple of years.
Yeah.
But yeah, my website is stolleart.com. And I have a store there as well. I don't think that's been updated in a while either. I'm really bad about my website, just because I would rather just focus on the actual production of toys.
Right.
So if there's any website designers out there, hit me up, and
you can tweet that information to Scott too. We'll make sure he gets it.
I definitely need a refresh.
Very cool. Very cool. So again, you can see Scott kind of starting recreating this design on the 4-inch MUNNY.
So this design came about, I think it was 2004. I think Kidrobot did a Dunny series called Evolved, and it was I really loved the idea. What it was is it featured, I think there were 5 artists in the series, And in the series, each artist had 3 separate Dunnies.
Okay.
And each of the Dunnies represented like an evolution in something. So there was Frank Kozik was one of the artists, and his evolution was he actually did it backwards. So like it was I think it was a spaceman, like an astronaut that went into like a human a caveman, and then went into like this fish creature. So I thought that one was a really cool idea. And then mine was actually my idea was a lotus. It's kind of, I guess you could say it's more of a feminine design. So it was like the first design is just an actual lotus that was on the on the Dunny, and then the second one was the birth of the dragon, and the third one was the maturation or the birth of the lotus dragon. So then this year, in collaboration with Kidrobot, I did an 8-inch Dunny that was kind of the final of the series, which was the Imperial Lotus Dragon. So it was kind of like the final phase of those 3. So it was kind of cool how it worked out, and when you see them all together, it's a nice little kind of display.
Very cool. And for those of you who don't know, you can check them out certainly in our stores. But the Dunny, like Scott had earlier, it's kind of the money, but with ears, so it looks like a little bit like a rabbit. So again, check that out. You can see behind us all the great stuff, or a sampling of some of the great stuff that Kidrobot does. Some of the other vinyl figures, Yummy World, and so check those out while you're in the stores as well. Not only with the money, but all the great stuff that Kidrobot does. So it's very cool. Very good. Again, if you've got questions for Scott, let's see if we've got any questions on Twitter. So Lindsay Shelton is asking, so what's your favorite money that you've ever created? Do you have a absolute favorite you remember, or I guess money or Dunny?
So for monies, they don't really do any production monies. They're all DIY like this one. But I have done plenty of customs throughout the years. So my favorite custom I did was for a show. I think it was maybe like 6 or 7 years ago. It was a place in Cincinnati, a gallery. I'm not sure if it's around anymore. I think it might be on my website actually if you go through there. I can't remember what I called it, but it was just this. It was called Billy Victim. That's what it was, and it was just this like kind of kid that had gotten beaten up, and he had like a black eye and like clothes all disheveled and everything on it. But it was just funny. I played with textures on it a lot, so I had a lot of fun like just doing some dry brush technique on it and everything, and I really like the color scheme of how that piece came out.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Cool. That's awesome. Very good. Show another one you're working on earlier. Kind of have those two as your examples for what Scott did for us for today's workshop.
Yeah, feel free to ask more questions too. Whatever you guys want to know about.
So we have a question asking, wants to know, do you have any tips for outlining? Is there a way, obviously these are outlined and you go back in and fill these in with color. Is there any suggestions you have? Or?
So I do, if you're just doing doodles like this and marker, Sharpie makes a brush point pen that's really, I used it on this one right here. So it's a regular Sharpie marker, but it comes to more of a point, and it's actually a brush, so you can get that thin and thick line that you want. If you're actually doing custom work, you just want to get a nice liner brush, really thin, long bristles on it, so you can do your really clean line work without having to dip the brush too many times in the paint.
Okay.
So.
And paints, you said you. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it's all about practicing too. Like,
sure.
Just with anything else, if you want something with really clean line, it's always a good idea if you're using a brush to like test it first before you actually go on. Sometimes, like the paint will be clumped on the end, and you'll dab it, and it'll just kind of leak or whatever,
right,
or spread out. But I definitely recommend those Sharpie brush pens if you can find them. I've only seen them a couple times, but I take them to every convention with me and use them every time I get a chance. They're really fun to just play with, especially if you're just kind of like this guy. I did him just freestyled it, and it's fun to work with because you have variation in line, and you're not gonna, you're not gonna have too many weird design things going on.
So you said earlier too, you have a booth at San Diego Comic-Con. So do you hit a lot of Comic-Cons and events throughout the year?
Yeah, I've done a lot of cons, but recently, like I'd say in the last 4 or 5 years, I stick exclusively to San Diego, and I also do Designer Con, which is in Pasadena, California, and that actually just happened the weekend before Thanksgiving, and it turned into a 2-day event, and it's really for the scene with all the designer toys and everything. It really has become the convention to attend. A lot of the artists travel from all over the world to attend, to exhibit, and you can really find like so many things that you just don't see, like walking into a Target or walking into any of those stores that carry, because all these toys that we're creating are all artist based. They're not based off of properties. Sometimes they can be, but a lot of times they're just based off, it's just the person's art in 3-dimensional form, and they're made to be toys. And a lot of times, unfortunately, when you say it's a toy, people will tie that to like, oh cool, what cartoon is it from, or what kind of movie. And part of the struggle with this scene is trying to explain that to people, like, no, it's not. Sometimes you have a story, like I told you about the Lotus Dragon. There's a story to it, but there's no cartoon.
It's not a book. It's not a comic. Yeah. It's your design, your creation. Sure.
Yeah. So a lot of times it's and people still don't get it sometimes, and you just have to say, look, it's just made to look pretty. Like, it's just, imagine a painting but in 3-dimensional form. But yeah, those two conventions are really good. Designer Con is really, it used to be a 1-day event, and it's just, like I said, more and more people are coming, and they're coming from different areas and attending, so it's just kind of just blown up into this 2-day event. And everyone talks about it every year, and people save money for it. It's like a really big deal.
Kind of like San Diego, but for designers. That's interesting. So there are panels. Do people, panels to share how they create stuff and what their creative process is?
Yeah, I was actually on a panel this year, Kidrobot panel this year. Actually, it was me, Bob Africa, Frank Kozik, Alan Richardson, and an artist that goes by J-Roo, is a buddy of mine. And we just talked about different things, and like with panels, for me it's a lot easier to answer questions because they're just all over the place. Like, some people want to know like really general like information, like things that inspire you, or materials that you use, and some people want to know like certain techniques, like how do you pour resin, and I want to make my own resin toys, or I want to work with a factory. What's the best way to go about that? So I love like just answering questions so that I know that I'm helping them out, and I'm not just rambling, like kind of what I'm doing right now.
That's good. So obviously working at Disney, 2 kids, how many hours do you get to spend kind of working on your own artwork and your creative talents a week?
Less and less. It really, when I had one kid, it wasn't as hard, it wasn't as tough, because you can always hand off back and forth. And but to be honest with you, like, having kids has actually, people like ask me like, how do you have time? And in a lot of ways, it has forced me and pushed me to use the time that I do have to not just sit there and play video games, or you know what I mean. So like if I come home from work and I have a deadline on something, it's like, okay, well, I know I have 2 or 3 hours carved out. I know I have to do something during that time. Whereas if I didn't have kids or something, you just keep pushing it back.
Sure.
It's human nature, right? Yeah. So it's just about discipline, It's about like putting that time there and making sure that you stick to it. And I try to be really good with deadlines. Like if somebody says, "Oh, just get it done whenever you can," that's like the worst thing you can say to me, because
Yeah.
then I'll be like, "All right, it's not that important." But if you say like, "I absolutely need this," like Kidrobot's really good about that with our collaborations. That they say, "Well, we need this by June 10th." Like, absolutely, we need it, and then I'll make it happen. But if they were like, "Well, just whenever you get to it," then it's like, well, I got all this other stuff.
All the time in the world then. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's hard to prioritize. So
Definitely.
absolutely. Again, remember, if you haven't already, check out gohastings.com for all the information on the money contest. We have till December 31st for anyone to submit their entries. And if you have questions for Scott, tweet those to us at #MoneyLiveQA. Do you have any advice for someone starting out as an artist, whether it be whatever the format? Kind of, what's some sage advice from someone who's
Yeah, I mean, I don't get discouraged. Don't let people, don't let people discourage you and like tell you you're not good or you can't do it. I mean, I had one thing that drives me that I think about occasionally is that when I was in college, I had one teacher was really excited about my work, and she's like, "I want you to bring your portfolio and share it with my professor." I don't know if it was another professor at the college that I guess ran the entire art department. She's like, "I want you to share it with him, show him." So I brought it to him, and he just flipped through it, and he's like, I mean, it's good. And then he said something to the effect of like, every parent tells their kid that they can be a good artist, and but it doesn't always work. It was just this weird, like, I don't know. So I remember that, and I'm like, stuff like that pushes me. And when people say you can't do it, just prove them wrong,
Right.
And
Right.
then, and it's like, just because you try it once, and if I've produced toys, and I produced toys that were terrible, that I don't really talk about anymore because
Mhm.
like they didn't sell, or like I didn't like the way they looked. But like I could have easily just been like, well, and one of those toys was the second toy I did, which was a wood figure, and I designed it, project managed it, produced it, sold it, and it didn't do well. And it could have been, I could have easily said, you know what, like this is not working.
Right.
I'm going to do something else. But I knew that there was more. I knew I had more to do. That I had more ideas and more things I wanted to do. So, I don't know if that's kind of a cliche answer, but just keep at it.
Yeah. Now, speaking of kind of being a young artist, did you ever have to have the conversation with your parents to say, I want to be an artist, I want to draw toys? Did they see that, the artistic side of you from the get-go, or was that something they were like, you're going to make toys for a living?
Yeah, I think especially with my mother, she definitely was always kind of, even tells me today, like, you did certain things that I kind of knew that's what you were going to do, and I just never really knew. I didn't really think of I mean, it was just that,
Right.
I was going to be an artist. Like,
Right.
It didn't matter how, or how much I got paid, or if it mattered to anyone, or
Right.
you know what I mean. It's just it's the thing that I did,
Right.
And yeah, so she tells me stories too, like occasionally that I forget about, that she's like, oh, that one day you brought home those drawings, and so it's pretty funny. It's a pretty funny thing.
That's cool. So again, we've got these two that Scott's making. If you haven't seen those, we'd love to see any pictures out there from all of you in the stores. What you've created. Tweet those to us. Send us those pictures. You can submit them at #MoneyLiveQA. You can also submit them on the GoHastings.com Facebook page. Either way, we'd love to see what you guys are out there creating and what you're going to be submitting for our contest.
So yeah, I'm just I'm going really slow at it because I'm not really good at drawing and talking at the same time, like I told you I would.
Multitasking. It's,
yeah.
Gotta
I made it sound like
concentrate.
it was going to be so easy. Like, I'll just sit here and answer questions and draw.
Gotta concentrate.
It's
Again,
like-
these are very cool.
Not like what I did in school. I was like, I remember drawing all the time in class, but being able to retain information at the same time.
So, what does your wife think of your artwork? I mean, does she have a favorite? something in your house that is her favorite from?
So she's really funny. Like she's not. She doesn't. It's not that she doesn't care about this. It's just not her thing. Like she's, obviously she supports me and she's like very supportive and like, I want you to do this and be, because it's your thing. But I do like using her as like a voice of reason for that, because she's very like if I show her something that I'm not sure about, like I know she's going to give me an honest answer. Whereas if I ask a friend or someone, oh, that's totally cool, I know she's going to be the one that's like, no, no, that's not good.
Start over.
Yeah, so in that sense, she's really good, but she's not really a collector. She's really into books, so she loves reading. But it's a good thing she's not a collector though, because I am, and I have a lot of stuff. So I couldn't imagine if she did collect.
Run out of space quickly, I'm sure.
Yeah, she's all about just like get rid of it. It's old, but at the same time, she understands that that's part of me, that I love to collect, and she's not like, you got to get rid of this stuff.
Right.
I mean, occasionally she does, but it's not like get rid of all your action figures.
That's definitely one of the things in our stores. We have a lot of collectors in our stores, obviously, a lot of action figures. So definitely a fun way to...
So one of the projects I'm working on now, are you a Walking Dead fan?
I am.
So I'm working with Skybound. I created some 8-inch vinyl toys for them that released last San Diego Comic-Con. It was Rick Grimes, Invincible, and one of their new characters on a new show that they're doing, which escapes my memory right now. But we're creating a blind box series that includes Walking Dead, some of the Walking Dead figures. So
awesome.
I'm sure you guys will be carrying that.
Yeah, absolutely. Walking Dead's a huge license for us, so that's very cool.
It's really fun working with Skybound as well. They're really, what's really good about them is they're letting me be creative and like they're open to like my ideas, and it's not just like we want this, do it. It's like, well, I have these ideas, and they're letting me put my artistic spin on stuff, and
very cool.
So it's not just a obvious Rick Grimes. It's like, well, it's kind of in my style.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's good to put your own spin on it for sure.
Exactly.
Very good. All right. Well, we're probably getting ready to wrap up. We've got some definite entries here. Raptor Steve actually just sent in his picture. I don't know if we can see that. I don't know if that'll come through on there, but just sent us a photo of what he's working on. So very cool. Yeah. So again, keep those questions and images coming. Hashtag MUNNYLiveQA. And we'd love to hear from you, and definitely submit those by 12/31. Check out GoHastings.com to get all the details as far as the contest. Again, you get the Mega Money, which is the big one behind me, $500 Hastings gift card, and a lot of other fun stuff from Kidrobot. We'll have in that prize pack as well. So we're kind of at time. So again, I want to thank Scott for coming all the way to Amarillo to be here. Obviously, again, you got his monies, and you can check out more on his website, which you told us about earlier. Keep tweeting us those questions or your images. And thank you to Kidrobot again and Crayola.
I feel like I should show him something really quick before we leave.
Yeah, here, through these you can.
At least I didn't get really far, unfortunately, but I don't know. Usually when I do these at conventions and stuff, I'm kind of just, I kind of go, like, I'll take it and I'll go back, at the table, and like I'm not really talking
knock
at
it
the
out.
same time.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. No, you're having to dual duty right now, so absolutely. So, well, thanks for everyone for coming to our Money Workshop this week. We certainly appreciate it. Again, thanks to Scott, to Kidrobot, and to Crayola, and we'll see everybody soon. Thanks so much.